So I've got with me a Google Pixel 3a XL and a Google Pixel 6. Now, these two phones are just 2 years apart from each other, with the Google Pixel 3a XL dropping way back in 2019 and the Google Pixel 6 coming out in 2021. In those 2 years, a lot happened. So let's talk about it. Let's discuss about the changes. Let's see what really changed in those 2 years. So starting off with the Google Pixel 3a XL, this was Google's budget-friendly type of phone. It was more focused on the eco side of things. So this phone came with a body that was made out of plastic because of the eco-friendly stuff. So it had like these two variants to it, where you get like this glassy type of plastic at the top and this matte, almost leather-like finish at the bottom, which feels great. Like in my hand, this feels great. Now this plastic doesn't really feel cheap. Like you don't get like that cheap feeling plastic like you are going to get from these other Samsung phones, like the A14s, the A04s, whatever. This is a really good type of plastic that they used, and I'll always commend them for that. But for that but when it comes to like the Google Pixel 6, this is where Google really stepped up their game, because this was the first phone where Google had like use their own chipset. So they had to step up the game. So this gives you like that premium feel to it. This gives you like a cheap budget feel to it, but this one is their premium version. Like the body itself, it's glass. Like there's this glass like type of body, type of finish, and then you also get some aluminium, I believe, is what they used on these phones. So you're getting like a glass back, but everything comes with their own setbacks, because having a glass back, of course, it will give you a premium feel to it, but it's so slippery. Like it's slippery, and if you are somebody who has like sweaty hands, yeah, you are in for some trouble. But at the same time, you're just going to get a pouch which will reduce the slipperiness of the phone. So great build. I would still prefer the build of a Google Pixel 6. Yeah, I'll go for Google Pixel 6 than the Google Pixel 3 XL because of the plastic. But the build quality, great. So yeah, let's move on. Okay, so the Google Pixel 3a XL came with a 6-inch display, and this display was an OLED panel. Okay, this was an OLED panel which had like decent colors, the brightness was fine, and for daily use, I wouldn't say anything bad about it apart from the 60 hertz. So yeah, the Google Pixel 3a XL is still stuck at 60 hertz, which will feel a little bit slower if you're coming from a high-end model phone that's maybe above 60 hertz. This will feel a little bit slower when you're scrolling or doing whatever you're doing. This might feel a little bit slower, but like I always say, if you're just a regular person, you just want to use this phone on a daily, calls, documents, photos, this will feel smooth to you, especially if you're coming from the low-end model types of phones. This will feel smooth to you, like buttery smooth, because 60 hertz, you're not going to notice the difference. But one thing you're going to notice though, it's the bigger bezels on this phone. Like these black lines, that's what we call bigger bezels. Like these are so big, like these are big. You're going to notice this. And for some reason, if you don't mind having these, it's cool with you. But for somebody like me, I just feel like this was a waste of space. Like they could have used this space for something rather than just having this plain like this. They could have put like the navigation buttons here, maybe. Then I would understand that, okay, this works, but it's just like a black line down there. Like look at the chin, bro. The chin is so big. But apart from that, this display was a good display. You're going to get the best out of it. OLED, it still holds up pretty good. The colors pop, the brightness is fine, although it's not like the brightness you would use in direct sunlight. But I can't complain. I can't say anything bad about a phone that's now going for less than $100. So yeah, that's the Google Pixel 3 XL for you. And moving on to the Google Pixel 6 though, yeah, Google really stepped up their game with this phone, because this phone came with a 6.4-inch display, and then the panel was an AMOLED panel that was clocked at 90 hertz. So whether you're just gaming or scrolling through social media, everything will feel smoother on this phone than on the Google Pixel 3 XL. And that makes sense, because this is the upgrade from a Google 3 XL. They're like 2 years apart. So yeah, the screen itself, the bezels, like they evened out the bezels. They're not that even, but you can see that the bezels are way thinner than the bezels on the Google Pixel 3a XL. Like those ones are ugly, but with this one, they tried to maintain that uniform look with the bezels. So I really like this one. I don't even notice them sometimes, but yeah, Google Pixel, yeah, they did their thing. And another thing is this came with an ultrasonic sensor underneath the screen. So beneath the screen, you get an ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, on-screen fingerprint sensor, unlike the Google Pixel 3 XL, which is at the back. You know what I'm saying? So this one feels more futuristic, but yeah, this one feels more futuristic. But to be honest, it's not like the fastest fingerprint sensor out there. The one on the Google Pixel 6, it's not the fastest. It's really slow. It's like half a second just for you to like open the phone. It takes like half a second. But with the Google Pixel 3, it's like instant. You get what I'm saying? So I would still prefer the fingerprint sensor on the Google Pixel 3 XL than this ultrasonic sensor on the Google Pixel 6 because it's slow. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Okay, so when it came to performance, the Google Pixel 3a XL came with a Snapdragon 670. Yeah, it came with a Snapdragon 670 that was accompanied by 4 gigs of RAM and 64 gigs of storage. Also, a 3700 milliamp hour battery. Yeah, it was kind of small, and that just gives me like a clear picture of why they chose the Snapdragon 670, because the Snapdragon 670 is a more efficient chipset. It does not need like a lot of power. It does not draw lots of power. So it balances out the battery with its functions, like the chipset, battery and functions were thought out. So yeah, it came with a Snapdragon 670, and that chipset, since it was more efficient, that means that you can last with this battery life. You can last like for, at least for me personally, right now in 2024, this stays with me like for up to like 10 to 12 hours of battery life on this. That's on screen. I'm playing some games, videos, music, and everything. It can last for 12 hours. So I understand why they used the Snapdragon 670, because this phone was, like I said, an eco-friendly type of phone. So that chipset was the right thing to do. But at the same time, it's not like, okay, it's a low budget chip, so it's not going to perform great. It performs good, especially when it comes to like photos, videos, processing, all those things. It does a good job when it comes to those. And I don't think there's any other chip that will beat the Snapdragon 670. Right now, I don't know if there's any chip that can beat a 670 when it comes to performance at the price of a Google Pixel 3 XL. I don't know, because most of these phones come with a MediaTek chip, and for me personally, I would rather go for a Snapdragon 670 than any other MediaTek chip out there. You know what I'm saying? Because the 670 has proven its worth since 2017, 18, 19, whatever. It's still a strong chip. It does not fall behind. But yeah, the only time this phone will fall behind is when it comes to gaming, like playing high graphics demanding game or intensive games. For example, when you're playing Call of Duty, you do need to like turn down your graphics. So in most games that are really graphics demanding, I'm sorry, you need to chip out on your graphics. You need to uh, set it to low graphics and everything. That's when you can play those games on the Google Pixel 3 XL. But does that mean that the phone isn't a good phone, or does that mean that the chipset isn't a great chipset just because you can't play games? I don't think so, because 9 out of 10, you're not even going to be playing those games. You are just going to be using your phone for social media, pictures, videos, music, and all these other things. I don't think you'd be playing games on this for 24/7. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, either ways, even a high-end phone will still need you to reduce your graphics because of certain reasons. But yeah, the chipset itself, great chipset. But when it comes to the Pixel 6, yeah, this was Google's first phone that carried their in-house chip, and that's the Tensor chip. So this was when Google moved away from Qualcomm, the company that produced the Snapdragon chips and everything. They decided to make their own Tensor chip, and that really paid off. Like that paid off. Yeah, I understand when the chip was just released, the phone was just released, it used to have some bugs here and there, but what do you expect? It was their first time, so it's going to have some bugs. This happens to almost every phone out there, but for this one, yeah, it really paid off in the long run, because this is one of the best chips on a smartphone, the Tensor chip, because it's paired with 8 gigs, specifically on the Google Pixel 6. It's paired with 8 gigs of RAM and 124 128 of storage. So you're getting that storage, and you're also getting a Mali G78 GPU. That just means that your graphics are top tier. If you're a gamer, this phone is for you, because you can play any games like these top tier titles like Call of Duty, PUBG, Warzone. You can play them at the highest settings, even though in the long run you're going to like notice the heat buildup, but that shouldn't affect you, because this phone, due to some software updates and everything, moved from being heating up like a volcano to just being like, normal temperature, room temperature, because of those software updates. So the chipset on this one, it's something that I respect, especially when it comes to processing power. Like the processing power on this phone is amazing. Like on the Google Pixel 3 XL, for example, you can take a picture, but it will take about a second for the picture to process. But on this one, it's instant process and everything. And then another thing that you're going to notice is the multitasking part. Like when it comes to multitasking, this chip does not fall behind. This chip does not fall behind. You can open and close apps. Either you're just on your social media, you are just editing, you are listening to music, playing videos. This does not disappoint. Okay, so I don't think there's any better chip out there than this one, the Tensor chip in this price range. There probably are, but the price of the Google Pixel in 2025 compared to other smartphones, I still feel like this chipset is the best in that price range. So yeah. When it comes to the camera systems, I feel like the camera is something that most people consider when getting a phone in 2025. And this one, for example, the Google Pixel 3a XL came with a 12.2 megapixel rear camera and an 8.0 megapixel selfie camera, right? Those numbers sound small, and I understand. But what you need to understand is that Google isn't really known for their hardware. Like they're not really known for their hardware, but more on their software. When it comes to the camera system, they are known for their software. So with features like optical image stabilization or Google's amazing processing techniques, this phone was turned into a photo taking beast, because Google leaned more into the, like, let's say, technological photography, if I can call it that, like the technological photography. Now this just means that Google leaned more into their software with features like HDR plus, night sight, or portrait, or just even raw pictures. This phone was taking great photos. It might be dark in the room, but that night sight will prove you different. It will tell you that no, it's not dark in here, you just need some light, and it will bring that light in the room. That's at night. So the night sight on this one was incredible. When it comes to the portrait photos, because of the software, so most Google Pixel phones, it's not about the camera hardware, but more about their software. That's just something that you need to understand. So the Google Pixel 3 XL took amazing photos, the colors were popping, everything was okay. Like most of the things were okay, even though you would notice something when it comes to the skin colors and everything. It was a little bit off. Some colors might turn out unsaturated or saturated, and sometimes the portrait just lags behind because of the edge detection. So edge detection on this phone sometimes is great, sometimes is good. Like I always say, Android phones, they are not like the worst when it comes to taking pictures. It's just the consistency. So this phone can, like, out of 5 photos, this phone will take about 2 good photos, and then 3 will be bad. So consistency is something that most of these phones lack, not just the Google Pixel 3 XL, but the pictures themselves, they come out sharp. Like for example, these pictures, they look like these pictures look like photos that came from a high-end phone that was dropped in 2019 or in 2025. But no, these pictures were taken on a Google Pixel 3 XL. And when it comes to the video, so this phone was able to take FHD videos, like full HD videos, in 30 to 60 frames per second. Now, this is me using the Google Pixel 3 XL. You can tell like the difference. You will notice the difference in colors and exposure and everything. This isn't the best, but back in 2019, this quality was okay. And it can also do 4K. Let me show you. It can go for 4K at 30 frames per second. Now it can't go up to 60. That's a downside. It can only do 4K at 30 frames per second. But also another thing that you'll notice is the difference in audio, because if you're not using the mic on this phone isn't the best. But yeah, this is the video quality right now. Let me know what you think. The Google Pixel 6 came with a 50 megapixel wide lens and a 12 megapixel ultra wide lens paired with